Guys, this is Mr. Smith. I just want to tell you about what to do for schoolwork for Monday, March 23rd. And first of all, the teachers are all like walking around crying, like, oh, the school's so empty. So I want you to know that we miss you, and we definitely wish you were here. And all the teachers are all sad because the hallways are empty and the desks are empty and everything's just quiet and empty here at the school. So we definitely miss you and hope that you're continuing with your schoolwork and also that you're having a good time. Okay, the first thing on the checklist has been math. I know that some of you might know how to tell time really good, but I know for a lot of kids it's really tricky. So we're doing another day of the same thing that we already did, and instead of doing another math lesson, we're going to review and practice what you already know. So let's review what we already know. We already know when the longhand is on the 12, we say o'clock, something o'clock. We do the shorthand, which is the hour hand first, then the longhand, which is the minute hand. So this is 10 o'clock. Let's try another one like that. This would be 8 o'clock. So remember, the shorthand goes with the hour, which we say first. The longhand goes with the minutes, which we say last. 8 o'clock. So we learned about the longhand being on the 12, we say o'clock. When the longhand is on the 6, we say 30, something 30. When we do this, it's tricky to know whether to say 7:30 or 8:30. So we have to think back to the last o'clock that we had, 7 o'clock. One way we can think back to the last o'clock is to say, well, which number is smaller? Because it always will be the smaller number, with one exception. When it's between the 12 and 1, it's going to go backwards to the 12, not the 1. But every other time, it will be the smaller number. So this is not 8:30, it's 7:30, because we went backwards to the last o'clock that we had. We went down to the smaller number, 7:30. And we practiced that for one day. Then we moved on and did to the nearest 5 minutes. This was 8 o'clock, 8:05, 8:10, 8:15, 8:20, 8:25, 8:30, 8:35, 8:40. Remember the very first day Mr. Smith took apart the gears in the back of this clock to show you that whenever you move one hand, the other hand automatically moves too. So notice I started with the red hand right on the 8, but because I've been moving the blue hand, the red hand has slowly moved to where it's almost on the 9. That's what clocks do, and that's why you need to learn to know whether you're going to say 8 or 9. This whole time, we're still going to keep saying 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, until it gets right up to 9 o'clock. Then we can start saying 9. So we were right here on 8:40, 8:45, 8:50, 8:55. Even though it's pointing right at the 9, we keep on saying 8 because we're not in the 9 o'clock hour yet. We're still in the 8 o'clock hour. The last o'clock was still 8 o'clock. So this is 8:55. Then when we get to 60, it's actually a new hour, 9 o'clock. And if we were counting by ones, it would be 8:55, 8:56, 8:57, 8:58, 8:59, 8:60, which doesn't exist. It's actually 9 o'clock. Goes from 8:59 to 9 o'clock. And, okay, so that's everything you already know. Let me show you the worksheet. This worksheet has what? Let's figure out how many questions there are, first of all. 1, 2, 3, 4 on this row, 4 on this row, 4 on this row, 4 on this row. That's 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 4 plus 4 again is another 8. 8 plus 8 is 16. You also might know that 4 this way and 4 this way is 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, which is actually 4 times 4, which you'll learn about next year if you don't know about that. 4 times 4 is 16. There's 16 problems on this page. Okay, but hopefully they'll be easy for you and you can whiz right through it. The first thing you have, so you're just telling the time. The first thing you have to do is decide which hour it is. You have to look at the shorthand first. It's the short one you look at first. So here we have shorthand here. The shorthand is going between the 10 and 11. If it's between the 10 and 11, I need to decide if I'm going to write 10 or 11. You always are going to write the smaller number, or think backwards in your mind. The last o'clock was 10 o'clock. So it's 10, then the 2 dots. Then I have to look at the longhand and decide how many minutes into the 10 o'clock hour we are. So we started at o'clock. I could count every tiny mark, which is super hard to see because this is not the world's greatest copy. So it's easier to actually count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 10, 35. I'll do a couple more and you do it on your own. So the next one, if we look at the first of all, what do we look at first? We want to look at the shorthand first because short people are amazing, right? I don't know, dwarfs are fun, like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Anyway, shorthand first. So here's the shorthand. I'm going to continue it on out so I can take a look. The shorthand is between the 4 and 5. I have to think, will I write 4 or 5? I'm going to write 4 because I go backwards to the last o'clock. I go back to the shorter number. Unless it's between 12 and 1, then backwards is to the 12, even though 12 is a bigger number than 1. So between 4 and 5, I'm going to go backwards to the 4 and write that with 2 dots next to it. 4 o'clock and how many minutes? How many minutes into the 4 o'clock hour are we? It was 4 o'clock when the longhand was on the 12, so I want to count how many minutes past the 12 we've gone. I will be easiest for me to do that if I count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and I stop there because that's where the longhand is at, 35. And how about that? 2 questions in a row. The second part of the answer, the minutes were 35. Pretty interesting. Now, I know it can be hard to write tiny, so if you need to, you can get another sheet of paper to write your answers on. Flip it over to the back side of this page, or actually, there's going to be something else on the back. You can get another piece of paper to write your answers on. So, one more. This almost looks like 10 o'clock, so we know that it's close to 10 o'clock. I'm going to look at where the shorthand's pointing. It's pointing right to the 10. So I got to think, am I already in the 10 o'clock hour or am I still in the 9 o'clock hour? Well, if I look at my longhand, it's right here on the 1, which means it has already passed o'clock, 5 minutes past. So I know that I'm in the 10 o'clock hour. I've passed 10 o'clock. So it's 10. Now, how many minutes is it going to be? Well, it was 10 o'clock. How many minutes have I gone since 10 o'clock? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's been 5 minutes. Or if you're really good at this already, you can just count by fives. 5, 10, 5. Remember, we don't just write a 5 because that would, if we wrote 10, if we wrote it like that, it would be 10, 5, and there's an imaginary number here. 50, which would change it to 1050, which we do not want. So you have to put your 0 here so that it doesn't change into a 50 accidentally. It's 10:05. That's as much as I'm going to do for you, and the rest of you leave you to do on your own. So now, if you will pause the video and do your math, in a minute, I'll tell you what to do next. Pause the video. Now you should pause the video. Pause. Pause the video. All right, you should now be back from your math. After math, let me look at my checklist. The next thing we have is to do spelling. You have your spelling worksheet. Let me tell you about this week's spelling skill. So, when we have a word that's has a short vowel sound in it, like run, we know that it says run, But you guys also know there's a magic E rule. This is a made-up word now. Rune or rune. When the magic E makes the vowel say its name. A real-life example would be mad. When we add the E, changes to made. We're going to talk about when we add ing or ed to some of those words. So let's think about the word bike. Here's the word bike. When we add ing, we do not do this, ing. The reason we don't do that is we accidentally created a vowel team right there. And that vowel team is one that we hardly ever use, ei. We use it sometimes in the word like ate, and it says a, but that's not what it says right here. This word is biking. And so we don't want to have that. The people who invented our English language at least didn't want to have that. So they drop the E in order to put ing. And that's actually what we're doing next week. Next week will be drop the E at ing. This week, we want to make sure, let me write biking on here. This week, we want to make sure that the readers know that we're not saying along I right here. So we're going to put two of those. This is a made-up word, bicking. Sometimes people actually say when you shave your head, you use a Bic brand of razor. They sometimes call it bicking to shave your head. Bicking would actually have two C's in it. I'm guessing, I don't know how to spell it. But it could have two C's because, or it would maybe have a C and a K, because you have to have two letters right here or else it says I. All right. I think I may have explained that in a confusing way. Let me re-explain it a little bit better for you. Let's go back to the word run. If I want to say running, I have to put two ings. Running. If I want to say clap, I have to put two P's to do clapping. That's because if I don't put two P's, it's a made-up word. Claping. Claping is not a word. So you have to make sure, if this is saying it's short vowel sound, you put two of that letter. Two P's. All right? Let's think of another example. How about the word sled? If I want to write, I went sledding, I have to put one more of these, then ing. Sledding. Now, there's some words that already have two letters right there. Let's think of the word stand. The word stand already has two letters, so we don't need to put another D. We can just add the ing right away. Standing. We have to have two letters so that we know that it says the short vowel sound a or the short vowel sound and not the long vowel sound a or e. Another example would be, here's the word cut. If I want to make cutting, I have to put, think about it, what would it be? One more T first, then I can do ing. And we follow this same rule if it's ing or ed words. So one more time, super speed to make sure you've got it. The rule is, if the word has a short vowel sound, like stop. If it has a short vowel sound, like in stop, if you wanted to continue to have that short vowel sound, we have to put two letters right here so that it will say the short vowel sound. This word would be stoping, which is not a real word, because if there's only one letter right there, then the vowel's going to say its long sound, O. If we wanted to continue to say or stopping, then we have to put two letters before the ing. Stopping. This week, every single word has two letters before the ending. Next, because every single word has a short vowel sound. Next week's spelling list combines and has some short vowels and some long vowels. So we need to learn this rule so that we're ready for next week. But it's starting out this week with every single one doing short vowel sounds, so every single one having a double letter right there. You double the letter if you want the vowel to say its short sound, a, I, a. Here are the spelling words. Running, clapped, stopped, hopping, batted, felling, pinned, cutting, rubbed, missed, willingly would be our bonus word. Now, before we go on, let me just show you two ends, because it says cla. We want to say we have to put two P's. Two P's. Two P's. Two T's. When you're adding ed or ing to a word, if you want it to say the short vowel sound, you have to double that middle letter. Two L's, two N's, two T's, two B's, two S's, and two L's. All right. Okay, pause the video now, do a little dance, because you are awesome. And pause the video and go do your spelling. I'll talk to you in a second. You should be back from doing your spelling now. The next thing on our list is to learn about something called a preposition. A preposition is just a word that tells you where something is. On your packet, you have a page that the front looks like this. This is, except for it's black and white, no color. This preposition page just teaches you, you don't write anything on it. The back side looks like this, and that's where you're going to answer just 4 questions to practice this. Let me teach you about it. A preposition is a word that tells you where or when something is. For example, the word to. Leaves fall to the ground. To is the preposition, or the whole chunk of words is called a prepositional phrase, is the rest of the sentence, to the ground, the whole rest of the thought. Another example is on. Other leaves stay on the branches. On is the preposition. On the branches is the prepositional phrase. Until. We rake until the sun sets. Until is the preposition. Until the sun sets is the prepositional phrase. After is the preposition in the next one. Put the leaves in a bag after you rake. After you rake is the prepositional phrase. So a preposition is a word that tells you when something's happening or where it's happening. And the whole rest of that thought, where is it and when is it? That's the prepositional phrase. Let's think of a few more examples. Lachlan builds Legos at his house. The prepositional phrase is at his house. The preposition is at. Chance runs in his pajamas. In is the preposition, and in his pajamas is the prepositional phrase. Nick flies over the ocean. Over is the preposition. Over the ocean is the prepositional phrase. So it's just a word that tells you where something is happening, and the whole rest of that thought, exactly where it's happening, is the phrase. Preposition and prepositional phrase. You just have 4 questions to answer. Read the sentence. Mario is hiding behind the curtains. The curtain. Which word starts to tell you where? You're going to circle it because the directions say identify the preposition. We eat popcorn during the movie. Circle the word that starts to tell you when you eat the popcorn. The next one, Jackie lives in the city. This one, the directions say to circle the prepositional phrase. So Jackie lives where? You're going to circle it. It is 2 more days until my birthday. It is, when is it? This time the preposition is answering the question when. When is it? Or in this case, how much longer? You're going to circle the whole phrase. You would circle, this is tricky, so I'll just tell you this one. Until my birthday, that whole thing. Until is the preposition that tells us when, and that whole phrase, until my birthday, is the prepositional phrase. Okay, so there's that. And, okay, go do your prep. Sorry, I'm a little scattered for a second. Let me gather my thoughts, my bad. Oh, time to go do your prepositions worksheet, and pause the video while you go do your prepositions worksheet. Pause, 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 pause. I hope you guys like my goofy pause breaks because I'm just trying to make it more interesting for you to have to sit here and watch this video. Okay, you should be done with your preposition worksheet now because you paused it, did the worksheet, and came back. The next thing on our list is recess. Pause it and go out and do some recess with your parents' permission. Go around, run around, build with Legos, do something fun. And then after that, it says reading skill number 1. Read how Chuck got his flying kite. This is a long story, and so just stick with it and do your best. But the reason we're practicing this story is it has the type of words that we want to practice this week. Words that have a short vowel sound and then an ed or an ing ending, which is the same thing we're practicing for spelling. Here are some of the words from the story. One of the words from the story will be add with an S on the end. Ads. Notice how it has 2 D's. Another word from the story will be rush. And then they added ed to it. Ed, rushed. The U says because there's 2 vowels before we get to the ending. Okay? Rushed. Another word you're going to see in your story is almost the same. We're just changing the front of the word. Wished. Wished. Again, there's 2 letters in the middle, so the I can say I. Wished. Munched. Munched. There's 2 letters or more in the middle, so the U will say munched. Another word you will see in the story is, first of all, what sound would this be? Blend it together. Sw. The whole word will be swished. Again, 2 letters in the middle, so the I says I. Swished. Let's move on to some that don't have the SH or something like that in the middle. Let's do like this one. Notice there's 2 L's in it, so the E will say yelled. Yelled. Already happened. Edie. It happened in the past. He yelled. The next word, I'm going to put another word that goes with it because we see these words together a lot. Huffing, 2 F's, so we say Same thing with puffing. There's 2 F's. We say puffing. I'm just going to write a list of the rest of the words now. We will also see lifted, drifted, landed, hinted, jumping, splashing, handed, clutching, All of these practice that same skill where there's at least 2 letters separating the ed or the ing. And if there's at least 2 letters in the middle instead of just one, then the vowel will say its short sound. I, lifted. I, drifted. A, landed. I, hinted. A, jumping. A, splashing. A, handed. A, clutching. Clutching. Clutching, which means you're grabbing onto it like this. You like that face? Sheesh. Apparently it's not healthy to make that face. Okay, now I want you to go, well, wait just a second. The sight works for this week. I'll just cruise through them real fast. Against, cover, early, getting, here, hurry, much, stopped, toward, and your. By the way, toward is a preposition that tells you where. I'm going toward the door. Where am I going? Toward the door. So what? So good connection there. Okay. Now pause the video and go read this. Read the sight words, and then if you still have time, continue reading so that you've done at least 30 minutes of reading total. Pause the video now and get your reading done. While I go get a drink. Okay, there's more. You should be done with your reading now and coming back to check back in with me. Next thing is PE. Go exercise for 10 minutes. The next thing after that is community building. Get onto Padlet and tell us something fun that you did over the weekend. Tell us what you did, and we'd love to hear about it. And you're welcome to post pictures or sentences, whatever you would like. And the last thing is our lift time. Well, I also have on here and be kind. Always keep doing that, and I know you will. But the last on here is our lift time. I want to talk about that for a minute. If you were in school, we would be for our lift time where we just have some fun learning. Learning is fun time, lift. Then we would be doing map skills this week, which would be really fun. Since you're not here, I do still want to teach you a little bit about map skills because it's one of the things we get to learn in 2nd grade. So one of the keys to reading a map is first figuring out which direction. I say go forward. That's great, but what if I'm holding the map like this? Then I'm going to walk that way. If I'm holding the map like this, I'm going to walk that way. So one of the keys to a map is telling the map reader, you're the map writer, so when you write your map, tell the map reader which direction to hold it. Here are some ways you tell them which direction. In real life, most maps have an in at the top, or on the side they have a little compass that says north, east, south, west, like that. Or if they don't say anything, you are just supposed to assume that the top of the page is north. So if we were together, we might talk a little bit more about which direction north is and stuff like that. But the thing you need to know is real maps tell you which way north is. Then when you're holding the map, you have to face north, and you can figure out which way is right on the map and which way is right in real life. Which way is left on the map, which way is left in real life. So, so you have to know which way is which to know how to hold your map. On your map, you can tell the reader which way is which by the way you put things. If you put a door right here and a window over here, because that's what you have in the front room of your house, if you're making a map of your front room or a map of your bedroom or a map of your whole house, you can choose exactly what you want to make a map of. But you have to have things that help the map reader know exactly what they're looking at. So if they stand at the door and there's a window over here and there's a couch here, and you can write that on your map. Couch, window. Then the person holding the map, if they're standing at the door, they know, oh, I know I'm holding the map the right way because the window's over here and the couch is over here. So I must be holding the map the right way. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're creating a map. You can't just put things randomly. You have to put them in the perfect spot. So when your map reader is holding the map, they know that they're facing the right direction because the window is here and the couch is over here. Now, I can't teach you as much about how to create a map or how to read a map over a video as I would like to. It really just takes some practice. But for lift time today, I want you to try to create a map of your house or a map of your bedroom, a map of your yard, a map of something, and then show it to your parents and have them check your map and have them try to read your map and give you some ideas of how it looks or things that you could maybe do to make your map even better and stuff like that. So have some fun today for lift time creating a map, and it's an important second grade skill to know how to read maps, and so your parents could teach you a little bit more about how to make a map and how to read a map. So create a map and see if your parents can figure out how to read it, figure out your drawing and your map. Thanks, and hope you have fun creating your maps and doing the rest of your schoolwork. Have an awesome day, you guys. Keep being great kids.